And when it comes to relationships, what you see is what you get.
Have you ever wanted to become famous? I'm referring to like audition lines for American Idol, X Factor, The Voice, that kind of thing. If you have taken a breath, you have probably seen at least one episode of one of those reality shows where they get interviewed, and they're not just going to audition, they're going so people will notice them, so people will recognize who they are. Some of them, they have zero talent. Are you pregnant? Wait, hold on. Okay, oh, it's a basketball. And he's a guy. Okay. Sorry, Jeffrey, but, you distracted me. But it kind of spans beyond music, right? Have you noticed the things people will do on YouTube in hopes of getting more hits, more views, getting noticed? Yes? My in-house YouTube expert, who probably watches like 5 hours a day of YouTube, I'm going to ask him, what is the absolute craziest, not R-rated, but what is the craziest thing you have seen on YouTube? Roman Atwood bringing in millions of balls, those little playground ball pit balls, put them in his house, and put a trampoline in his house, jumping off the second floor into the ball pit. You haven't seen anything crazier than that? But check it out. People will literally try and do anything. Just browse YouTube and just see what people will do. And the interesting thing, even with those two, they come to me and they say, I got 93 likes. I got 93 views on my YouTube channel. I got this, I got that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what that's saying? I want to be noticed. Right? I want people to appreciate something that I did, something that I put effort into. When you're playing basketball, can I pick on you, Maria? A little bit. I mean, you're new, but you want people to see you, right? You don't want to play to an empty gym if you're doing really good, you want people to notice. You want people to see that you're doing well, right? Carrie, same thing. You want people to see you because you want to be known. You want to be known as Carrie, the basketball player that made that last shot and won the game. And everyone mobs you. You ever been mobbed because you did something like, it's dangerous, but it's also like really, really, it's terrifying, but I loved it. Yeah. That's exactly, no, not really. But even if you just sat there and didn't raise your hand, in your own way, you want to be noticed. You want people to notice you and your accomplishments. We all want to know that we matter. Bless you. You want to know that, Maria, you matter. Jeffrey, you matter. You're it. You're good at basketball. You're good at this. You're good at writing. You're a better reader than I am, and a much faster reader than I am. And you tackle larger books than I would ever attempt to read. Yeah. So you want to know that you matter. But like we said last week, at one point in Jesus' ministry, he was asked a question. And it wasn't about who mattered, but it was about what mattered. Do you remember the question that they asked? The ones that were here? Out of all of the commandments, Jesus, which one is the most important? And they weren't referring to the 10 commandments necessarily. They were referring to the hundreds of commandments that they had been following from the Old Testament. There were hundreds. 10 or 100? Hundreds. Which one would you think would be easier to follow? Oh, wait, how about 2? Would 2 be easier to follow than hundreds? And that's what he did. He boiled it down to what matters more than anything else. And he answered by saying, and I'm nutshelling it, I'm like bullet pointing it, love God and love others as much as you love yourself. That's it. Can you do that? Can you love God? I think I can attempt to do that. Can you love your neighbor as yourself? And what he's really getting at is, can you love your neighbor the way that you love yourself? That one's a little bit tougher, but it's still easier than some of the rules and laws and stuff that I've read in the Old Testament. Those are tough. In answering that question of what matters most, Jesus is actually addressing who matters most. Who do you think matters most? What? God. Okay, God. That's one. What about? Give me another one. Who else matters? Yeah. Jesus. Okay, we're going to go God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, and we're going to just like, okay, that's number one. Give me who else matters? Your parents. So others, and who else is he addressing?
Your friends.
That's others, yes. Yourself. So he's saying God, you, and your neighbors, your friends, your enemies, your teammates, which could be your enemies if they're trying to get the same position that you're trying to get, or your drama team. But last week we talked about loving God. And easy, hard, probably depends on the day, right? Today, we also talked about how we can't really love God until we learn to see God for who he really is. But today we're going to focus on the second part, us. We're good at talking about us, right? Are you good at talking about yourself? Yeah? Let's see. Sarah, tell me one thing about yourself. You like art. Okay? That was simple. You're shy. You don't really like to talk a lot, but that just came out of right. Perfect. Randy, where are you at? Tell me something about you. You love photography, and you're good at it. She's good at art, so you guys are like, she can draw the picture that you take, or I don't know, something like that. Zach Rohr, what are you good at, or what do you like to do? Running. Okay. Skylar, what do you like to do? Soccer. Kenna, I know yours is going to be softball, maybe, unless there's something else. I don't want to. Here's what we end up doing. Kenna, softball. Maybe you're about more than softball. Maybe there is more things to you than just softball. Just like there's more things to Carrie than basketball, or Maria to basketball. There's more things to all of us. And you want people to know those things. And more than anything, you want your inner circle to know who you are, what makes you tick. And in some small piece, you really want that outer circle that really don't know you to know who you are. Agree? Because maybe there's that best friend that you don't have yet that's in that outer circle that if they got to know you, that could be potentially best friend you have ever had in your whole life. So, we're going to talk about loving ourselves. Easy, right? Is it easy to love yourself? No. Just like it's not easy to forgive yourself when you really, really screw up. God forgiving you, other people forgiving you, that's sometimes the easiest part of that. Forgiving yourself, that's And then that goes into the effect of when you don't forgive yourself, you can't really love yourself. So that whole commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, kind of goes by the wayside, right? Because you can't love God if you can't love yourself, and you can't love your neighbors as yourself if you don't love yourself, right? Nice catch, Rainen. He almost wiped out, and then we would have had to have gotten it on video, and that would have been just hilarious. The problem is we typically allow other people to define who we are, to determine how we see ourselves, and not God. We let our friends, we let the people around us determine who you are. Right? Because a negative comment can put you on the defensive, and then another negative comment about the same thing can make you, well, maybe I am that. Maybe I am a loser. You just lost the game. You missed several lines in the play that you're in. And really, you know who notices that? Other than the teacher that has the lines right in front of her, the only person that really notices it is the person that messed up. Just like in worship sometimes, I'm told, man, I missed that. I missed that note. I missed that whole verse. And in my world, this happened Sunday, not with anyone in this room, and they pointed it out, and I went, I had no idea. I didn't know that you missed a note or missed some words. And that person is the only one that knew it. I think. I don't know if you guys noticed. But out here, I didn't notice. And I bet most people didn't notice. And the best thing to do is not to stop, right? Isn't that the rule? Like, don't stop. Fake it. Right, Reagan? When you're a marching band and you miss a note, the last thing you want to do is just completely stop. Get into a fetal position, scream for your mom, which that happened, right? The other day? Yeah, I saw that. But we're obsessed with what other people say about us sometimes. Some of you are obsessed with your academic success or your athletic performance. That is definitely you. You want to be the best of the best. And you're going to do whatever it takes to do that. You're going to take time. It's going to take effort. And that is what you're going to do. Not because you just want to succeed and have influence, but because you have to be outperforming everyone else to love yourself. You're a perfectionist. And you are driven to be better than everyone else. Or girls, I don't know if this applies to any of you, maybe some of you. I know it does some of you. Some of you, I've seen this. You dress a certain way, you post certain pictures, and you hang out in specific locations hoping to hear the words, "Girl, you look good in those jeans. Those jeans fit you." And I've said that to Michael, and man, the hugs I get from him. Guys, you do the same thing. I've done it. I've witnessed it. Right before that girl that you're really interested in walks in, or right before you go and meet that girl, girls, you know what they do. You know what we do? We do like 100 push-ups just to get that, hey, how you doing? And like the veins are popping out. You're not sweat. You don't do it to the point of sweat. You do it to the point of, yeah. I've seen it. Girls, have you seen it? Yes. Okay. That's what we do. Some of us need to hear certain things before we allow ourselves to love ourselves. We need to hear certain things. If we only matter when we outperform everyone else, you know what that makes us? It's going to make us exhausted. if all you ever do is have to outperform someone else in order to matter. So, if we only see ourselves through the judgments or opinions of others, you'll never be satisfied. Never, ever, ever. You know why there's depression, why there's low self-esteem, and why there's suicide attempts amongst your age? Right here. You don't see yourself the way you should see yourself. You have allowed other people to determine who you are by their comments that they make. Are they hurtful comments? Darn right. Are they unnecessary comments? Yep. But those comments should never define who you are as a person. Has anyone committed suicide that you know? Some of it had to do with bullying. Some of it had to do with they just couldn't get over the fact that people didn't see them in the right light. And they could not love themselves because other people just kept on pushing them down more and more, and they didn't see a way out. So, one of Jesus' disciples, John, after the resurrection, John, one of his beloved disciples, he was hated by people who hated Jesus. They hated him because he loved Jesus. And they didn't kill him, but they did the next best thing for people that are outgoing and extroverts. You know what they did to him as punishment? Nope, that would be the end of that. What did they do? He didn't get beheaded. What did they do to him? He may have. I think that was Paul. I know Paul got a lot of things. He got bitten by a snake. He got. They sent him somewhere all by himself and let him live out the rest of his days all alone. They sent him, and that's when he wrote the book of Revelation. He was all alone. If you're an extrovert, Jamie, how would you handle being the only person on an island? What? Hello. Yeah, crazy. The crazy bus is calling. But there were people who hated John, but that didn't keep him from doing what he was doing, and it didn't change what he had come to know was true. In a letter John wrote towards the end, in 1 John, he wrote a few letters. Here's what he says. He said, "How great is the love the Father has lavished on us." I mean, that's an interesting word picture. How great is the love the Father has lavished. I mean, what do you think of when you think of lavished? Chloe, what? I mean, somebody look it up. Lavished is an interesting word. Just like gushing or pouring out or what? Egg it on? Piling it on. How great is the love the Father has poured on us, like over and over, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are. So think about this for a second. God could have called us a bunch of things. Good for nothing, no good. He called us his children. You know what kind of commitment that takes? You don't yet, but you will. What kind of commitment does it take to be a parent? 24/7. How about you? 23/6? No, it's a full-time job. It's never, even after your marbles are gone, inside joke, even after your marbles are gone, Aubrey, we are still your parents 24/7. Okay.
The marbles represent 1 week for every week I have left before I leave for college, and it's very, very thin.
The countdown's getting lower every day. I mean, hold on. Sarah, Ryan, Randy, Maria, Reagan, who else? Seniors. You're counting every day down. Like,
Going for
another year. Okay. It's getting closer. So being someone's child is a full-time commitment, and that's what God calls us, his children, which means he's committing to us, and he defines who we are, not the other way around. We don't define who we are. We matter. You know why? Because God says we matter. We matter regardless of what we do, say, or think, regardless of what others say or think about us. God still calls us his. In other words, has nothing to do with how others see us, but how God sees us. We matter because God says we matter. There were a few times in my life, lots of times, that I knew that I mattered to my dad. I was in college and playing baseball for my team. There were moments that, I don't know if you can relate, but there were moments that I was embarrassed and proud at the same time. You ever been there with your parents? On this particular day, I shouldn't have been playing. I had 102 fever, and my coach had no idea. I didn't know where I was. I knew to go to left field and go and bat. And I got a ball for it. Not for being sick, but on March 24th, this is going to tell you how old I am. I was in college. I was a sophomore in college, 1980 something. I hit a 3-run homer, bottom of the third, with 2 outs, right center field fence. And the only reason why I have this ball is because as soon as I hit it, I was like, yes, I knew it was gone, but I didn't know where I was. I was like deliriously feverish. And so I'm running around the bases, and all I hear is, "That's my boy!" And it was my dad. My dad is typically a quiet person, but he was like hitting people beside him, going, "Did you see?" And they're like, What am I, blind? I'm sitting right here. I'm watching the whole game. And he's doing this, and the ball is going out there. And this is how I knew that I mattered to my dad. You know what happens when someone hits a home run? What happens? We didn't play in a stadium. We had bleachers here, and there was field out there where I hit it. What happens? All of the kids start running for it, and my dad. My dad, here's what my dad did. He waited for that ball to land, and he did the calculations. He's like, okay, third post over, like 10 feet back. They're totally looking in the wrong direction. I'm out. Honey, I'll be back. And he goes and he finds that ball, and he hands it to me. I have like 6 of these because of my dad. The other time, I barely even remember this. I'm in high school, and it's an even bigger game. That one was just like a regular game. This was like to go to state. This was like one of the last games. 10th inning, solo home run, game winner. And I hit it all of 12 feet. No, it's like rubbed out. It looks like 3,300 feet or something like that, or 330 feet. And my dad did the same thing. I knew that I mattered because my dad was such a proud person, and I kind of got clouded with my dad thinking I was somebody because of the things that I did and the things that I accomplished in sports. But there were lots of times that he sat me down and he said, "Tony, I don't care what you do in life. I'm going to be proud of you." And I'm like, I want to be a baseball player. Well, that's great. But if you choose not to do that, I'm still going to be proud of you. Well, okay, thanks. Can I just sit on my butt and watch TV? Can I watch MTV? No, you can't watch MTV. So in this verse, maybe your dad never said stuff like that. I think I was very fortunate, very blessed, because my dad, he poured out love on me. Sometimes it was inappropriate, like, Dad, you're embarrassing me. Please stop. Sometimes it was just to his friends that I didn't even know. And I thought, this is lame. But you know what he was doing? He wasn't saying it, but he was saying, hey, Bill, come here. I need you to meet my son. This is my son. You know, I've talked about him, and my ears start burning, and I get all embarrassed because, okay, Dad, I got to meet your old friend. I don't care. But he was saying to me, without saying it, I am proud of you. You matter. Not because of what you do, but because you're my son, you're my child. And that's what God is saying to you. You matter, not because of what everyone else says. He cares about Julie's opinion about all of you. But his opinion about you trumps anything Julie says. Most of the time, what Julie says is kind of a carbon copy of what God is saying. And that's what my leaders are here for, to repeat what they know to be true about you. You matter because God says you matter. And in this verse, God is basically saying, I don't care what anybody else says about you. You are mine always and forever. No matter how depressed you get, no matter how many times you lose the game. Michael Jordan lost more games than he ever won. But that's because he was willing to take the shot, willing to take the chance to make the shot. You're always going to feel like a hamster on a wheel when you're waiting on people to tell you that you matter. Don't wait for someone else. Just know that you matter. Why? Because God says you matter. Thank you. So here's what I want us to do. I want you, whether it's when you go home or in small groups, I want you to craft a phrase that reminds you of how God sees you. Just a short little phrase. Put it on put it on the fridge. Put it on your mirror. Put it on the wall right in front of the toilet as you go to the bathroom, so you can see it often. Put it on your ceiling where your bed is. Here's a few that you could use these or pick one of your own. My God loves me, so I can love me. God loves me, so I can love me. Not others. This is about you tonight. We'll get to the other people part probably next week. How about God defines me, people don't. God defines me. My dad does not. God defines who I am, not my friends, not my interest, not my nothing. God defines me. How about two more? I'm an accepted child of God. Or I'm a loved son or daughter of God. You know, if you're a guy, you're not a daughter of God, you're a son of God. So remember that. But my hope today is that you'll believe and take to heart what God has said to you. You matter. Why? Man, you got that. That is like weak. You matter. Why? Because God says you matter. For a fact, I would throw this, but I'll probably hit someone. But that's how important this is for you guys to get. I don't care how old or young you are. You're not too old to get this, and you're not too young to get this. You matter because God says you matter. End of story. No matter what you've done, you matter because God says you matter. Do I need to say it like 10 more times? You need to remind yourself of that, especially when you're down and depressed and down on yourself. Anybody been there? You matter because God says you matter. If no one else says that, that's enough, or it should be. It isn't because you need other people around you saying the same thing. That's why you come here sometimes, because you need that encouragement.